Science can debunk many things, but it still doesn't have an answer for everything. And it never will. Some things simply go beyond what we understand, and that applies to the ancient past just as much as the present and future. There are discoveries left behind thousands of years ago that have confused, challenged, and even troubled some of the world's greatest experts. Today, we're going to look at 15 ancient discoveries that scientists still struggle to explain. Number 15, the ancient twin heads. Whatever was supposed to rest inside that small chamber at Saqqara, someone had arranged it with frightening precision. When workers broke into the space in 1991, they found two niches facing one another, each holding a bare human skull. No bodies rested beneath them. No names, prayers, offerings, or wrappings explained who these individuals were. Stranger still, measurements attributed to a Cairo University researcher suggested the skulls were practically perfect copies. 11 separate anatomical points matched within just 0.3 millimeters. A degree of similarity even identical twins would struggle to produce naturally. Their bone density was also said to fall outside recorded ancient Egyptian ranges. Then the story almost disappears. The skulls were taken to Cairo, independent access was refused, and the complete research never surfaced publicly. But perhaps numbers are not what make this account so eerie. Someone placed those heads opposite each other on purpose, leaving two nearly identical faces locked together in darkness long before the pyramids of Giza rose above the desert. Number 14. The cone-head burials of Amarna. Egyptian paintings had shown them for centuries, sitting above people's heads at banquets and religious scenes, yet archaeologists wondered whether those strange cones had ever physically existed. Burials at Amarna finally complicated that assumption. Researchers uncovered individuals with cone-shaped objects placed over their heads, giving physical form to something long treated largely as artistic symbolism. Made from wax, the surviving cones raised an immediate question: why were people buried wearing them? Amarna offers no easy explanation. The city was already unusual, established during Akhenaten's dramatic religious revolution and abandoned soon afterward, making these graves even more intriguing. Scholars have considered links with purification, perfume, rebirth, social identity, or funerary ritual. But none have settled the matter. Their appearance in Egyptian art may therefore have represented something far more literal than historians once thought. We finally know these cones were real objects. But that did not solve the mystery, it simply replaced one old question with harder ones. Number 13. The Buddhas of Bamiyan. For centuries, two huge figures watched over Afghanistan's Bamiyan Valley without ever telling us everything about the hands that shaped them. Cut into towering sandstone cliffs more than 1,500 years ago, the larger Buddha reached about 160 feet, while its companion stood roughly 120 feet high. Their appearance was once different from the bare stone remembered today. Pigments, plaster, elaborate details, and painted surfaces covered portions of both figures, reflecting a Buddhist culture thriving along the Silk Road. Travelers passed beneath them as kingdoms changed and religions shifted around the valley. Then, in 2001, the Taliban destroyed both statues, leaving two immense empty niches where they had stood for centuries. Those hollow spaces have since raised an uncomfortable question of their own: should the Buddhas ever be reconstructed? Well, many theories have come and gone, while experts continue debating whether rebuilding them would preserve history or erase part of what happened. Number 12. The bronze tree of Shu. 4 months of work were needed before archaeologists could even understand what they had pulled from Sangsingdui's sacrificial pits. The pieces belonged to a bronze tree made by the Shu people around 3,200 years ago. But whoever buried it had not left it whole. Its trunk, curling branches, flowers, birds, and solar imagery had been broken apart and scattered between layers of ivory. Once reunited, those fragments formed something unlike an ordinary ceremonial object. Birds perch along an elaborate bronze structure, while the entire design seems tied to beliefs nobody can properly translate anymore. The shoe left no surviving texts explaining what their craftsmen were trying to show. Perhaps the birds carried the sun into the heavens, as one interpretation suggests, or perhaps that explanation misses the point entirely. Archaeologists managed to put the metal back where it belonged. The harder part remains untouched, figuring out why someone made this extraordinary tree, shattered it deliberately, and buried its pieces so carefully. Number 11. The bodies that became one. What made Dr. Ivan Turk sit on the edge of a burial mound for several minutes before continuing his notes. In 1978, his team was excavating ahead of a dam project in Slovenia's Sava River basin when 3 carefully laid layers of limestone led them to something they had never encountered. 2 skeletons had somehow grown together. Their bones joined naturally at 7 separate points, and later examination reportedly showed those connections had formed while both were alive. One skeleton appeared human. The other was harder to explain. Its fingers were unusually long, its chest was far larger, and 14 pairs of ribs formed its rib cage instead of 12. Stranger still was the way they lay. The second figure's arms remained wrapped tightly around the human from behind, while the human's posture suggested severe distress. The discovery was eventually restricted from further study, and the dam went ahead. Whatever remained of that burial place now sits beneath roughly 22 meters of water. Number 10. Stone circles of Senegambia. Where would you expect to find the largest collection of stone circles and megaliths in the world? Stonehenge probably comes to mind, but it doesn't even come close. That distinction belongs to the stone circles of Senegambia, a massive collection of monuments scattered across West Africa. And massive really is the word for it. More than 1,000 stone circles have been counted here, along with tens of thousands of individual stone monoliths spread across the region. Even stranger, very little research has been done considering the sheer size of the place. The stonework itself is remarkably well made, yet we still don't have a complete picture of who erected all these monuments or exactly why they were built. What we do know is that creating them required a huge amount of organized labor. With so many ancient structures packed into one region, you'd think Senegambia would be as famous as Stonehenge. But it isn't. Number 9. The body broken bone. By bone breaking, every major bone in a body takes effort. Breaking each one precisely through its strongest point suggests something far more deliberate. That was reportedly the disturbing pattern archaeologists encountered beneath Orham, Turkey in 2009. 11 meters underground, a sealed limestone room held the shattered remains of one strange individual, arranged carefully in circles rather than scattered across the floor. Reconstruction only deepened the problem. The neck reportedly contained 10 fully formed vertebrae instead of the usual 7, while the shoulder blades were unusually broad. Forensic examination suggested the bones had been broken around the time of death, with each fracture placed where maximum force would have been required. Yet one small bone escaped completely untouched. At the exact center rested the hyoid, the delicate horseshoe-shaped bone of the throat. Everything else had been methodically destroyed and arranged around it. The site was later restricted, a preliminary paper was withdrawn, and excavation permission eventually disappeared, leaving one uncomfortable question: why was the throat deliberately spared? Number 8. Tabula Cortonensis. We can understand parts of the ancient Etruscan language, but not nearly enough to make the Tabula Cortonensis give up everything written on it. The bronze tablet was found in Cortona in 1992 and is believed to be around 2,200 years old. It was already broken when archaeologists found it, leaving 7 separate pieces to put back together. Once they did, another problem appeared. There should have been an 8th fragment. That piece has never turned up. What survives forms one of the longest Etruscan inscriptions ever discovered, and researchers have managed to make sense of portions of it. There are references to land, a vineyard, Lake Trasimeno, and two families who seem to be involved in whatever agreement the tablet records. Because of that, one possibility is that it documents an ancient property transaction, but without a complete understanding of Etruscan, and with part of the tablet literally missing, we still can't say exactly what agreement these people carved into bronze more than 2,000 years ago. Number 7. The faced sarcophagus well. No one repairing an old church expects the floor beneath them to open into a mystery. But that is reportedly what happened in Urbino, Italy, in 2004, when restoration workers discovered an unrecorded chamber beneath the Church of San Francesco. There was only one thing inside: a stone sarcophagus carrying a face disturbingly unlike ordinary funerary carvings. Its features were uneven and personal, down to a slightly irregular nose and raised brow, almost as though the sculptor had copied someone sitting before him. Then came the remains. Reports described an unusual ridge along the skull, and strangely, that same feature appeared on the carved portrait above it. Dating reportedly suggested the room had been sealed centuries before the church was built. Access was later restricted, while photographs eventually leaked online. But one detail makes the whole story difficult to shake. Nobody was supposed to enter that room. So why spend such care carving a perfect likeness for eyes that would never see it? Number 6. The sleeper in the Andean cave calling it a burial never matched what Dr. Eliana Bray saw near Cusco in 1996. Wari burials were familiar to her. Bodies seated, wrapped tightly, and positioned according to customs. This figure was different. It rested on its side upon a 400-kilogram black andesite platform, knees pulled toward its chest, one arm beneath its head, almost as though someone had gently put it to bed. At roughly 3.1 meters tall, its preserved body reportedly had unusually thick skin, no hair follicles, and no fingerprints. The stone beneath it had somehow been carried 200 kilometers through mountainous terrain and aligned almost perfectly with geographic north. 7 vessels surrounded the platform. 5 containing plants brought hundreds of kilometers from Peru's coastal lowlands. Nothing about that care felt accidental. Whoever sealed the cave had carried enormous weight, gathered distant offerings, and left this figure resting peacefully in darkness. Number 5. The Sator Square Puzzle. 5 ordinary Latin words have kept scholars arguing for generations, and whoever arranged them never bothered to leave a clue. Sator, arepo, tenet, opera, rotus form the Sator Square. An almost unnervingly perfect puzzle that reads across, backward, and vertically without losing its pattern. One example appeared at Pompeii, placing the riddle before the city disappeared beneath Vesuvius in 79 C. The wording only deepens the problem. A rough reading gives something like, the sower arepo holds the wheels with care. Except arepo itself remains difficult to explain. Then copies began turning up far beyond Pompeii, scattered across territories once belonging to Rome. Early Christian code? Jewish influence? Pagan charm? A protective formula whispered by people who understood something we no longer do? Each possibility has supporters, but none closes the case. Whoever first arranged those words clearly cared about their extraordinary symmetry. Nearly 2,000 years later, we can still read the message perfectly. Understanding why somebody wanted it written is the part that escaped us. Number 4. The thing sealed beneath San Zeno 8 centuries behind a stone wall should have left little more than dust. Instead, when restoration workers opened an unrecorded chamber beneath Verona's Basilica of San Zeno in 1987, a sharp medicinal smell reportedly escaped into the crypt. Inside were valerian, henbane, and black hellebore. carefully arranged around a stone plinth. Resting there was a skeleton measuring roughly 2.3 meters tall, with unusually large eye sockets and 6 fingers on each hand. Even the extra digits were strange, reportedly growing from a palm structure unlike ordinary human polydactyly. Researchers found another troubling detail in medieval writings. Those same herbs were associated with restricting movement, will, and speech. The remains were eventually removed while the little chamber was sealed once more. Yet the old instructions supposedly carried one warning that makes the story considerably darker. Such herbal barriers required renewal every 100 years. When workers finally opened that wall, the plants surrounding its occupant had been sitting untouched for nearly 8 centuries. Number 3. Aranmula Kannadi. For centuries, a small community of craftsmen in Kerala has protected a secret that visitors can hold in their hands. The Aranmula Kannadi looks like a traditional mirror, yet there is no reflective glass anywhere in it. Its image comes directly from a polished metal alloy, producing a front surface reflection with remarkable clarity and none of the secondary reflection caused by glass. Tradition connects these mirrors with Aranmula and its temple, where their history reaches back roughly 4 centuries. The remarkable part is that the precise alloy and manufacturing process were never openly documented. Knowledge passed through generations of artisan families, leaving outsiders with only pieces of the method. Even today, genuine examples are painstakingly handmade, and their unusual clarity remains difficult to reproduce perfectly. The mirror also carries religious importance and is considered auspicious in Kerala. We know what it does and can watch craftsmen make it, but the exact recipe behind it is a mystery. Number 2. The guardian that never left its post. 600 years is a long time to hold a door shut, yet that is reportedly how workers found a strange figure beneath Tbilisi in 1962. Deep inside a medieval passage, its enormous body stood upright with both arms stretched against opposite walls, completely blocking the route ahead. The proportions seemed almost made for that purpose. Its shoulders were structured differently from normal human anatomy, while its chest cavity was said to be around 60% larger than the known human maximum. Partial preservation even left the face recognizable, carrying such a strained expression that archaeologist Tamara Kutsishvili reportedly wrote that it looked as though it were still working. Then researchers noticed what stood behind it: a sealed stone door bearing medieval Georgian writing. The inscription warned that whatever waits beyond should remain undisturbed while the guardian held its position. Soviet authorities resealed the passage within days. The door was never opened, and as far as surviving accounts suggest, its enormous guardian remains there. All right, now let's end this with number 1. The oldest tavern. Someone left more than 150 bowls behind at ancient Lagash, along with benches, traces of food, and something remarkably similar to a refrigerator. Archaeologists announced the 4,700-year-old discovery in 2023, and the arrangement did not resemble a private Sumerian kitchen. Everything pointed toward a place where customers once gathered to eat and drink. The cooling installation kept food chilled, while cooking vessels and meal remains suggest dishes were prepared on site. That makes this building one of the earliest known public eateries ever uncovered. But there is something wonderfully strange about finding such a familiar piece of life buried inside one of humanity's earliest cities. We usually meet Sumer through kings, temples, wars, and clay tablets here. Ordinary people seem to come back into focus. They sat together, ordered food, drank beer, talked, and presumably complained about something. Whether Lagash possessed the world's first tavern cannot be proved. Still, 4,700 years later, its abandoned bowls make ancient city life feel almost suspiciously modern. Well, if you found this video interesting, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. Take care, and we'll see you soon.